Hey folks, how you doing? A beautiful morning. I'm in China, Liaoning province in the northeast. I'm here to do a couple of weeks work. You can see from the Sephora that it's autumn. Beautiful season. But it's quite a busy time for us in the garden. We're laying the garden down, getting it ready for bed, putting it away for the winter. And we have to make a lot of preparation for the spring show next year. So we've got lots of design work to do. We've got to lay the bulbs out and get them planted, and we've also got to give the garden a really good feed. We put a lot of compost and manure into the soil to break down slowly over the winter to nourish the spring gardens that will blossom in April and May next year. So I'm just enjoying this fine spell of weather. I'll take the camera around and I'll show a few views of the garden for you. Just taking the weight off for a wee while. Although it might not seem like it, it's actually quite a busy time. We've got to put the garden to bed. Winter's coming, it's just around the corner. All the pink moss, the alpine plant that we grow in thousands of square meters, needs to be protected from the winter winds. Otherwise it desiccates, so we put a horticultural fleece over it. Like tucking it under a huge duvet for the winter time. And then the tulips, we grow thousands of square meters of tulips. We've got 750,000 bulbs to plant. We've got to get them in before the winter, ready for flowering in the springtime. We're just waiting on the soil temperature dropping a wee bit. The soil temperature is still a bit too warm for planting, but that will happen in the next week or so. And then the other task that we have is feeding the garden. We're working on gravelly soils here. I might take you across and show you the compost clamps. We manufacture our own compost, so we've got to make compost always a year in advance, so we've got to crack on with the manufacture of compost for next year, and we've got to spread and incorporate the compost that is necessary for this year. So it's applied in the autumn, breaks down over the winter, feeds the plants in the springtime. So that's the main jobs. So we're going to crack on with them. A couple of weeks work, and then I'll get back to Scotland. We'll get away to the Highlands. We'll head up a hill, or maybe do a bit of camping or a bit of fishing, or maybe all of the above. We'll see how we get on. See what the weather's like. It's the end of October now, so it'll be November when I get back. We'll be into the cold weather and the shorter days, long nights. So I'm going to crack on, get a bit of work done, and I'll get back to you in a wee while before I finish up here. So I'll speak to you again soon, folks. Bye for now. making compost. We're gardening here on gravelly soils, hungry soils, and we're growing fairly hungry crops. This year we had the tulips in the spring, and we followed that with some summer bedding, and then now for the late summer and autumn, we've got chrysanthemum, gomphrena, amaranthus, all quite demanding crops in terms of pressure on the soil. So we need a lot of fertilizer, and mostly we try and use organic material. We don't use chemical fertilizers. So this is hen pen or chicken manure. There's actually several chicken farms, and they're not battery chickens. They're kind of sort of free range. They're in big pens, and all this on the ground, all this kind of husk is the grain that these chickens, so they're grain-fed chickens. This is all the grain. So what we're doing here is we're building a compost clamp, and this material just now is fairly toxic to plants. We need to compost it for a full year, build up the temperature. Any seeds that are left in the grain will be killed by the temperature. So we're creating this clamp. It's a little bit more than a metre tall, and we're mixing it with sandy soil, and then we'll turn it a couple of times during the year, and then next year we can use it. We also use a lot of sheep manure. We're not far from Mongolia. We bring a lot of the staff here. A lot of these guys that I'm working with are from their homes are in Inner Mongolia, so we have good contacts in Inner Mongolia, and a lot of the manure that is used to fertilise this garden is brought in from the big sheep farms there. This old machine here, we've done a lot of work together. I call this 2 scoops, because 2 scoops of the bucket fills our dump trucks. We have a load of dump trucks as well that we use for moving bulk material around. And then we have a range of old 360 excavators. So my pal here with the little 360 is basically just mixing the materials together, creating the clamp. So this is used to push it all into place. The wee machine forms the clamp, and then we can walk away from it, leave it. Sorry, there's quite a lot of flies about, as you might expect. So the machinery's old, but it does the job. And now that most of the heavy construction in this garden is over, there's no need to replace these machines. Well, certainly no need in the immediate future. Although we are thinking about a big project for this winter. folks, just checking in again. Still in China, still at work. Actually, I'm more or less finished. I've got a couple more days here. I've got 1 or 2 small tasks to settle down, but most of my chores are complete. So I'm just taking a wee bit time to enjoy an early morning hike. I'm hiking around the fringes of the garden. We have these semi-natural areas. This is secondary woodland, mostly pine and oak. This is Pinus tabuliformis, the tabletop pine, and a lovely spindle tree here, a euonymus. Nice listening to the birds singing as well. So like I say, I've got a couple more days here, then a couple of days in Beijing, and then I fly home to Scotland. So hoping once I get home, have a bit of rest, and then get on the road, get up into the Highlands someplace, and get another adventure on the go that we can share together. I'm not quite sure what it will be, but camping or hiking or something. We'll check the weather and see what we can get up to. So hope you enjoyed this wee video, and it won't be too long before I get back to you on the next one, back in Scotland. So thanks again folks, bye for now.